Some guys really like Batman, and they had an epiphany. So they all got to work on the next Batman movie. And now they are the heroes, and you get to follow along. They're bringing him to life every week after this song. Batman, Project Batman, Project Batman. Fuck yeah.
Okay, so this Red Letter Media thing.
Okay, so what I was thinking was that at some point we got to just sit down, and I mean this will take the entirety of an afternoon, but we sit down and we watch some Red Letter Media stuff, probably the ones for the 3 prequel Star Wars movies, even though all of us have already seen them. The reason for that is because the way that that guy picks apart a story, because like George Lucas himself has seen that review of The Phantom Menace.
Really?
Uh-huh. Yeah, George Lucas himself said, man, he actually brought up some good points. I wish I had thought of these. But like, Roger Ebert fucking loved it. I mean, like he said, that was the best movie review he's ever seen. Like he said, that put most of his shit to shame.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the fact is that because of the way that he goes through a story, and he sort of picks up on really minor things and how they can make or break a movie. And I think watching something like that to where we can see what makes a film fail and how we can avoid that will help us in the long run. That, and I've just been itching to sit down and watch those fucking things again because it's been like a year and they're fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
I found these, or Matt actually showed me these other movie reviews that were pretty funny, and it's Movie Sins.
Oh yeah, Cinema Sins. I was actually going to bring that one up too.
Another really entertaining movie review system.
Yeah, they just do like a little 5-minute thing of here's what they fucked up in this movie. And they just come up with a list. And that's all it is. And they did one for like The Dark Knight Rises, and it's just like one of them was like you shouldn't have a main character explain the ending of the film 20 minutes in. Things like that.
I like that though.
I did too. I mean, it's pretty good foreshadowing.
Wait, is that Dark Knight Rises?
Yeah.
What line is that?
It's when Alfred's talking about being at the restaurant.
Oh, yeah. There's that. And also, when I saw that, I didn't immediately go, oh, this is how the movie's going to end.
But still, the fact that he can take any movie and just come up with this list of things that we shouldn't do. Yeah. And there was actually one thing in that we had done. And it was actually and I don't remember what it is now. I mean, it was a long-ass time ago. It was actually something that resulted in me going back on an idea I had. Because it was mentioned in that. I don't remember what one it was. I probably never will. But it did have an influence.
Yeah. I'm for that, obviously. I mean, I love those Red Letter Media reviews. The only thing I feel about them that, like, could sort of hinder a perspective, and I'm not saying let's not do it, but just to be conscious of it, is that he does a lot of things that are... Like, he obviously meticulously went through the movies many, many times. Mm-hmm. But the things that don't work about those movies are... I mean, you could have a much shorter list than all of the things that he named. Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't need to be everything that he mentioned that leads to its failure. Like, they're just bad movies with bad character arcs and whatever. And, I never really thought about it this way until I read this essay called Film Crit Hulk Smash versus Movie Logic. Mm-hmm. And he talks about how a lot of times people will come out of a movie and say they don't like it because they come up with some logical issue that is like, well, how did Bruce Wayne get from, wherever he was in the Middle East to Gotham in time? Like, how did he do that? Like, that doesn't add up. And while his point is like, while that's a valid point, it's not going... All thinking like that is going to do is make you not enjoy the movie.
Right.
Like,
right.
What a movie is about is character, and as long as those things, like motivation, are written right, then...
Which oftentimes they aren't.
Especially in those Star Wars prequels.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I love the thing where he interviewed a bunch of people. It's just like, Okay. Characterize Han Solo. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Now characterize Qui-Gon Jinn.
Stoic.
You know, well, we actually have been able to go through and come up with things for all of our characters.
Right.
Which is good.
Right. But no, I agree. We should do that. I'm for it.
I was going to ask, have you been listening to Doug Loves Movies lately?
No, I've never really been a big listener to that show. Not that because I have anything against them. I just listen to so many podcasts, not that one.
Can't say I blame you. Matt was telling me that he's got this new game that he's been playing on there lately, and I was telling Otto about it. It's Bane vs. Lincoln, and he takes quotes from The Dark Knight Rises and the movie Lincoln, and you have to guess who said what, and apparently it's really hard.
That's hilarious. That is fucking awesome.
Right? I want to play this.
Have you seen Lincoln?
I have not seen Lincoln.
Well, here's a relevant have you seen? Have you seen Man of Steel? Man of Steel? How you seen Man of Steel?
I have not seen Man of Steel since the last time you asked me if I saw it. No.
Okay. Which was 2 seconds ago?
Okay. The immediately succeeding time before that, which was last time we were all here doing this shit.
Yeah. Well, fine. I won't talk about it. But that's okay.
But, so before we get real heavy into what I think we're doing today, which I don't know what we're doing today, there were two things that I wanted to bring up. The first was something that Sean came up with that I think will be pretty useful in solving a problem I was having with one of our scenes, was that after Alfred dies, what do they do? How do they solve the fact that they've just got a fucking body here? You know, somebody has been murdered. I mean, you can't just like bury him and be done with it, because, you know, someone's got to actually know that he died. And I mean, that's not a good thing. And Sean brought up that he should call Commissioner Gordon.
Okay.
And maybe there's not like a direct dialogue scene, but like, you know, he picks up the phone and he's like, Commissioner Gordon, we gotta talk, or something like that.
What's the... I'm not poo-pooing you, I'm just trying to fully understand. What's the... I don't know, not what's the reason, because of course they're like friends and would talk about that thing, but like what... I don't know what I'm trying to ask. Okay, so how do you see it happening? Like the Batcave sequence, and then Alfred's dead, and he's upset and angry and needs to go after Raish.
Okay. So it's and this actually goes into the second thing that I was going to say. So we'll just flow right into that. Well, basically, I came up with a loose idea of what dialogue's going to be like after, like immediately after the ambush scene. Like, this is right after Ubu goes off the cliff. Okay. Batman is pretty visibly distraught at everything that's just taken place in the last, like, 3 or 4 minutes. Rips off his mask, throws it to the ground. And he sort of, he picks up Alfred and he goes upstairs. He exits the Batcave. And then he's just sitting in his living room, and...
With Alfred's body?
Perhaps.
Okay.
But yeah, so Talia comes up to him, and she starts to speak, and Bruce immediately cuts her off. And he's just like... And I came up with this really nice little... I mean, it's a monologue that I like. He says to her, he's like, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say that there was nothing I could do to prevent this. You're going to say that this isn't my fault and it was just like my parents' death. But you're wrong. When my parents died, I was 8 years old. I was a helpless child. And I watched my parents get murdered in front of me. But every day since then, in the almost 40 years since that day, I have been forging myself into a symbol of justice. But I've become arrogant. I've taken it upon myself to single-handedly save the world from everything that's going to come to it. And what has that done? It's cost Alfred his life. Everyone who has gotten close to me has ended up worse for it. So tomorrow, so in a few minutes, I'm going to call the Justice League. I'm going to tell them everything we know, and hopefully they'll be able to fix it from there. And then I'm going to call the police. I'm going to turn in the cape and cowl, and I'm going to assume full responsibility for Alfred's death.
What? Okay, this is crazy.
And then he's just like, I've spent my entire life trying to dole out justice where it's needed. Maybe it's my turn. And I don't know what Talia says here yet, but she would say something, but then he'd tell her to just leave me be. And that's where immediately after that's where he has the Joker hallucination, and then flows into the record time scene.
Right.
But it's because of that Joker hallucination that he resolves that, holy shit, maybe I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. Maybe this is what everyone wanted.
Right.
Though I did think of something, and I want to know how you guys feel about it. And I don't want to cut this scene out at all, but is the Joker hallucination scene to Dark Knight Rises? And think about it, it's very similar. Bruce is in a slump, and he has a hallucination of a villain, and it gives him a deeper perspective on something.
Okay, but in The Dark Knight Rises, he straight up gives him information that... the ghost he's talking to gives him information that he had no way of knowing, just to drive the plot further. Okay, so... I just wanted to know what you guys thought about it. I mean, there's no way in hell we're cutting that scene out, but... Yeah, I agree. I think the Joker thing is very relevant to... It's like a metaphor for telling us how Bruce's mind is working, which is very character-centric, as opposed to being plot-centric.
Yeah, because he's always had... Ra's has always been this, a very dangerous villain. But Ra's never really haunted him the way that the Joker did, especially in the Joker's final moments. Mm-hmm. And the fact that his hatred of himself would manifest himself through the Joker, as opposed to somebody else, makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. I would like the Joker scene to be a little longer than the music you have scored. But I don't think there's any way to know exactly how long that would take until we actually have it written out.
Yeah, when we have it written out, I can... It's not all that difficult to add a few more bars in here and there. Mm-hmm. But there also needs to be there needs to be something that the Joker says, like a specific thing that he says that changes Bruce's mind. That's one thing that I feel that we've, in both of our versions of the scene's kind of lacking.
It defines where Bruce is at, but it doesn't really help change him.
Right.
Well, he makes a realization based on the fact that this is all happening.
Yeah. I don't have any direct answer to that right this second, but while you were going through your monologue, and then you got to Talia, I was thinking about adding something else in. Perhaps, just to get more emotion out of it, what if he, is so angry and upset after the Alfred thing, and we still haven't exactly decided where Talia is during all of that, but when she tries to talk to him afterwards or make him feel better, he could sort of say everything you just said, but more in a outwardly, angry way, and sort of maybe, push her away once she tries to make him feel better. And,
more like the Beyond Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, good call. And then, once he has his realization, that he still needs to ultimately finish this, he goes to wherever he knows Talia will be. Maybe she goes back to continue something wherever it was that he found her, whatever she was doing then, and he goes back there and just like grabs her and was like, we're doing this.
I'm thinking, because what I'm thinking is that perhaps after this she says she's going back to the Batcave to try and salvage what's left of what's going on. Or maybe he tells Talia, go compile what data we have left and bring it to me. And she's in the Batcave while Batman is doing all the testing and being awesome and shit.
Oh, yeah?
I'm thinking she should witness that.
I hadn't thought about that. But doesn't that mean she's present for like him talking to himself?
No, he's not in the Batcave when he has the Joker hallucination. He's in his living room.
Ah, okay.
I always envision that scene in the room where he's got the portrait of his parents.
Right. Gotcha. That makes sense. Did we... I feel bad that I don't have my computer and B didn't take notes on the last episode we did, but... yet. But... Did we figure out how Talia enters the movie?
I don't remember.
That's funny. I feel like last episode was a great episode where we figured out some shit. And I know we talked about that, but I don't know if we settled on anything.
Are you talking about the last like development episode we did, the one with Paul?
Yeah.
I don't know if we actually discussed that part. I know we didn't finish, like, because we were talking about doing Act 2, and, you know, I think we had gotten as far as the computer scene, and we had to stop.
Okay. Did you listen to that episode?
Yeah, I did, actually. But Paul, man, he can come up with some shit.
Right?
Yeah.
It just comes to him.
That's why I like having him on the show occasionally. Oh, yeah. Put this in here. Piper, if you're listening to this episode, we're all in agreement that you have to be on this show.
Yeah.
Yes, very much.
So, one day we are going to kidnap you, and you're going to be on the show, against your will.
And everyone who's not Piper, just let us know you're listening.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Do it whatever way you sees fit. Drop us an email. Burn the bat symbol on the side of a giant Gotham City skyscraper, you know. Something symbolic like that.
Review on iTunes.
That'd be nice. Because we're at the point to where we've actually got enough now that we're going to start to be able to go to people and say, oh, hey, check this shit out. You'll think it's really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, especially now that we've got a basic flow of a story. But I think what we should do now is we need to set up our next step in the Snowflake method is expand all of our sentences into a paragraph piece.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's something that I feel we can work on and that I think we can get done reasonably quickly.
Okay. Let me just read that next Snowflake step. Alright. We did step 3 last. And I feel like we've already done step 5. So we'd have to do step 4. Step 5 is take a day or two and write up a 1-page description of each major character, half-page description of the other important characters. These character synopses should tell the story from the point of view of each character. So I feel like we did that when we did our character sketches.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay, so step 4. Backtracking. By this stage, you should have a good idea of the large-scale structure of your screenplay, and you have only spent a day or two rather than investing 500 hours into a rambling first draft.
Granted, I mean, it has been a little over a day total of development, so...
That's true. That's true. Take several hours and expand each sentence of your summary paragraph into a full paragraph. All but the last paragraph should end in a disaster. The final paragraph should tell how the screenplay ends. This is a lot of fun, and at the end of the exercise, you will have a pretty decent 1-page skeleton of your screenplay. What matters is that you are growing the ideas that will go into your story. You are expanding the conflict. You should now have a synopsis suitable for a proposal. So we can just do this step and then just take this thing to Hollywood and have other people take care of it.
Okay. Have them pick it apart and ruin it.
Yeah.
I think for the first thing that Hollywood would do would probably be like that Batman character's been done with. So what I think they'd probably throw in is probably a little boy and a dog. Like, because really that's what people want to see these days. Movies with a little boy and his dog.
A bunch of flashbacks to him as a little boy, and we'll give him a dog.
And really, the dog's going to be the star of the movie, like always.
Oh, yeah, no, it's going to be like dog and Batman.
Do some uncharacteristically human-like things.
Like be able to play soccer or something.
Yeah. Or play Batman.
Oh, yeah.
It's just
Bat
like,
dog.
Yeah, you know.
dog.
No, Bat dog.
They're just going to combine My Dog Skip and that Underdog movie.
And then instead of Alfred dying, it's the dog.
Yeah.
Actually, no. Instead of Alfred dying, it's Batman dying, and Bat Dog has to take his mantle.
Bat Dog Beyond.
I feel like we could work in Hollywood right now.
I mean, yeah, we've already taken something that somebody has worked really hard on, completely scrapped it, and replaced it with something stupid.
Yes.
Yeah, we're
suitable.
That
was $1 million idea right there.
We're Hollywood bigwigs now.
Yeah,
How's that feel?
Our screenplay before this conversation was maybe $100 idea. Now we're $1 million idea.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right.
I was the first one who wanted to go to war.
What is that?
Family Guy.
Okay, here's our paragraph. I believe this is the final paragraph we settled on. Batman is wounded by a common criminal, causing him to design a new, more powerful Batsuit in order to maintain his position in Gotham and overcome his senescence. A global genocide begins to take place at the hands of the immortal Ra's al Ghul. Batman denies joining forces with Ra's daughter Talia out of mistrust until close calls and global detecting bring them closer than ever before. As they begin together...
They bang.
Huh?
They bang.
Yeah. Just replace that sentence with "they bang." As they begin to gather evidence and uncover details behind Ra's agenda, an assault on the Batcave leaves Alfred dead and their faith depleted. After sabotaging Ra's devices, Talia gives in to her father's wishes, leaving her to die at his hand as Batman returns to his nightly duties. There it is.
Alright. So the first act, we've got a rough draft of, but let's paragraph that real quick anyway.
Okay.
And eventually we'll have to type all this shit out.
Yeah, definitely. So, Batman's wounded by a common criminal, causing him to design a new, more powerful Batsuit in order to maintain his position in Gotham and overcome his senescence. Now, paragraph that.
Okay. Would we start off with everything that happens in that act? Yeah, just sort of give it all its own sentence.
I guess so, yeah.
Okay, so it starts off, we see Ra's al Ghul in 1450 something, and after a brief fight with an unnamed character, he steals some sort of vial and explains to Ubu, or has some sort of dialogue with Ubu that says, "This is how we do things." And then and then Batman, he does this thing where he goes to some robbers and he says no, but they say yes and shoot him, and then he's all shot and stuff. And then he goes back to the Batcave. He gets the idea to design a new Batsuit. After designing it and the initial prototype is a failure, Alfred reassures him, but then they see on the news that the shit got bombed.
My God, he said it was a paragraph. Did you have to go in so much detail? Jeez.
The robbers said no, but he said yes.
Alright. So that's our first act, and of course that was sort of a silly take on it, but if you want to know the entire first act, listen to the previous 20 episodes. Alright. A global genocide begins to take place at the hands of the immortal Ra's al Ghul. That's our shortest sentence.
Okay, now this we had started getting into in episode 20.
Yeah.
So what we what we had discussed is the next morning, Batman is trying to figure out what's going on. He's watching some news broadcasts. During these news broadcasts, he watches live as several million people are killed.
The next morning, right? Like Raish does Paris, and then the next morning he just does a few more cities.
Is that bad?
No, I mean that's just nuts. It's so quick.
Oh yeah, no. Like 800 people. We have to kill off 10% of the human race in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, one of the things that I'm going to have to do is come up with, just so that we have it in case anyone asks, is come up with a list of enough cities that get destroyed with a population totaling 800 million people.
Yeah.
So that we know, like, oh shit, this is where everything gets bad.
Yeah.
So in the epilogue, is it like Iron Man 3 and he just can't sleep anymore because he's like, all these people dying like haunts him?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what's at the end of our credits.
Okay.
We'll get Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, that sounds great.
Robert Downey. You know, he should play Batman.
He should play everything.
He should play all the characters in a single movie.
What if he was every Avenger? I'd be fine with that, except for Black Widow.
I don't know. He can play
that ass, son.
Alright. So I've got the note cards laying here. As we're doing this, we can continue to write out note cards for scene by scene. Every time I say scene now, I just think about you because he calls you scene. So every Sean that we do, I'll write a note card out for.
Okay.
Alright, so he has breakfast, and then he realizes, like, oh shit, Paris was just a test run. This is the real attack. What do I do now?
That's probably actually the second sentence of that. The first is that we go back to Raish and Ubu real quick, and they're like, well, that was a success. Let's blow up 8 more cities.
So does he just start making a connection between the cities that get hit first, or is it, since it's just random, it's just...
I think we had discussed at one point the randomness of it was, like, problematic.
Yeah, and that was what was terrifying, because we needed to destroy some places that weren't overly populated, so it would make everybody fear this happening to them.
Right.
That's fucking terrifying, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think we discussed the pattern that he does eventually notice is that a lot of them are civilian targets. There's not like an overt military presence in there, like attacking somebody in Switzerland. Switzerland is completely neutral. They don't have a formal military.
Yeah.
And attacking them would be, okay, he's not out to hurt countries. He's out to hurt people.
Yeah. That's nuts. I never really thought about it like that, though. Like, if, say this really did happen, this fucking Abaddon stuff, and, like, we would turn on the news and we saw it happen in, like, fucking New York or LA, it'd be like, holy fucking shit.
Oh, it'd be fucking terrifying.
It'd be that, but I wouldn't feel as much fear for my life until he hit, like, a nowhere city in, like, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Or something,
Something like that.
Then I'm like, it could be us at any
Unless they
moment.
hit Delaware, then I'd be like, oh, he hit Delaware.
Good Wayne's World reference. Oh, we're in Delaware. Which I found out there actually is something in Delaware now. There wasn't during Wayne's World, but there is now.
What?
Delaware is where the headquarters of Google is. That's where the Googleplex is.
I guess I had put Delaware on the map somehow.
Dude, I don't remember exactly, but fucking my in-laws were telling me that
Fucking my in-laws.
that they were reading something about, like, all the employees at Google and, like, all the perks they get. And if you work at Google, they'll pay for your food, not just at work, just outside of work. They give you a card just so you can get whatever you want.
That's awesome.
Isn't that insane? And they've got, like, slides to get to each floor at Google. And
Oh yeah, I've seen pictures of the slides in their building.
yeah, They have all kinds of crazy stuff. Like, way more than I'm even mentioning here. I just can't even think of it.
So, like, best place to work ever?
Yeah, it sounds like it.
A slide at work. Of course, if I slide, I'd probably end up sliding into like a CNC lathe or something and take my head off. But
yeah.
Now, does everybody get the company car like in Arrested Development?
we all have company cars.
Alright, so after breakfast, what's his next plan? Next action?
Is that when he hits one of the nowhere cities and then he makes the connection that it's...
Oh, wait.
Well, we're thinking
Well,
that
we have a card here that's after that says he goes through his rogues gallery and decides to try and find Talia. That must be something we came up with in that last episode.
Yeah, but why was he looking for Talia again?
Because he just deduce that maybe Raish had something to do with this?
Because I'm going to guess that one of the cities there is going to be a Swiss city. Maybe he builds on that. Like, he realizes watching these newscasts that there are military-neutral targets being hit.
Yeah.
And that's how he realizes... I think it's as he goes through his rogues gallery, he sees Ra's al Ghul, and that sort of connects.
Okay. And, like, I sort of am imagining a conversation with Alfred as they're watching this, like, terrible footage happening of, like... Alfred's like, why would they hit a non-military target? Wouldn't you think this is somebody with an actual agenda? And that makes Bruce think, like, well, this is somebody who isn't in charge of a country, and it's somebody with a separate type of agenda. It's not like a military attack.
Mm-hmm. And then I almost wanted. I've been thinking about this. I don't know if it's too cartoony or whatever, but like, what if Alfred like vomits or something looking at this shit? I mean, you know, that's something that's heavy enough. I mean, fuck, Sam Neill, his Dr. Grant vomited when he saw the fucking dinosaurs for the first time.
Did he?
Oh yeah. No,
I remember
he threw up. He was like, no, he threw up when the guy told him that he had a T-Rex.
He didn't throw up, man. He just sort of loses balance. And she's like, put your head between your knees.
Okay.
And then...
So imagine somebody tells you that they have a T-Rex.
Uh-huh.
And that's your reaction.
Say it again?
We have a T-Rex.
Oh.
Good job. But yeah. So imagine that's your reaction to somebody saying that we have a T-Rex.
And then fucking, what's his name? Old dude. What's his name? Dr. No.
Fucking Hammond.
Yeah,
Hammond.
then he has no concern for the fact that the guy he just paid for is toppled over. He just starts walking towards his dinosaurs. Welcome to Jurassic Park. It's just funny that, like, he's toppled on the ground, like, vomiting, as you say, but... Anyway, what's your point?
Is that okay? So that's how you react to the news of somebody having a T-Rex. How do you react to the live watching of the murder of several million people on television?
Personally, and I'm not arguing with you.
Uh-huh.
I've never understood the need to vomit when something crazy happens.
Neither have I, actually. I've seen it done.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those things in movies or TV that, like, happens even though it doesn't happen. Sort of like when a character says, did I just say that out loud? When has that ever happened?
I've actually done that before.
Oh, really?
I have, actually, yes.
Okay. Then I'm wrong.
But,
how are they watching live footage? Is there, like, security cameras up or something? Or?
News footage. What they're doing is that there are a bunch of... There are news places all over the world. Now, not all of the ones that he's watching are the ones that get attacked. Like, he's watching DC and LA, but LA gets attacked, DC doesn't.
Right.
And, like, there will be a couple of them that he doesn't actually see all happen at once. But, like, he happens to catch some of them just because he's looking at news reports in major cities. Because everyone's covering the Paris thing now. Everyone. Yeah. So, he's watching the news... trying to get all the information from all the points of view of the Paris attack. Then another attack happens.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason I was curious is because, like, with Paris and everything, the thing happens, everyone dies. There was nobody, like, filming or something, so did somehow somebody get, like, a leaked footage or something from, like, a security camera, and that's on the news, or
something like that?
I assume everybody is just talking about what happened.
Perhaps there was footage from an aircraft, like the footage of 9/11.
Yeah.
That, or maybe as people are just discussing what it all could mean, it's like, oh my god, new update, there's, like, England's being attacked right now. We're gonna go live to the fucking street cameras. You know how they have fucking cameras set up in every corner in England?
Yeah.
And then, like, that could happen, and, like, one of the networks could be, like, showing what's going on, like, live there. And then, like, other networks could start to report on that one, and I imagine, like, the LA one that's reporting on what's happening in England, like, it's just the newscaster, like, talking, and then fucking orange gas comes in the studio, and he doesn't even notice it, and, like, he fucking disintegrates or melts or whatever right there. Ages.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's what I was thinking of. The street camera. It's like, that'd be the perfect place, and you've got access to the camera, so they can show you what's going on.
Yeah.
London's one of the few places that has, like, a lot of those. New York has some, but not, like, total coverage.
They do?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, Anonymous used it as a prank once. There was this Operation Forever Alone, it was called, and I read about it, and it was just like, okay, so there are some cameras in New York, and you can, like, actually go to these cameras and watch them live feed, which honestly creeps me the hell out, but like, so what they did was, like, okay, so everyone make a dating profile and set a date with someone in New York. Have the date meet you at this intersection where the camera is. Then watch it live as everyone shows up and no one knows what the hell's going on.
That's funny.
Apparently about 15 people showed up.
Yeah.
And they were like, what the hell? Somebody's fucking with us. Apparently they all went out and had dinner.
I mean, I'm sure they did. Well, I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah. But yeah, so there was...
So that bothers you?
Huh?
I mean, just like that sort of government, like, watching.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah. I feel like I would be bothered, of course, if it were, like, in my home. But, I mean, I don't know.
Like, part of me understands it, but then part of me is like, yeah, this is sort of what the Nazis were trying to do. Of course, they didn't have cameras. They had, secret police disguised as Jews, but, I mean, that's how they caught a lot of those people, was they had Hitler's secret police masquerading as Jews looking for sanctuary. Then they found sanctuary. Then they called in backup.
Dude, that's so fucking evil.
Oh, yeah, evil is the only word to describe the Nazi party.
Oh, yeah. That's nuts.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, they were pretending to be Jews, just looking, and that's why the Jews had to find secret means of communication. Like they'd put like a little paper clip on their shirt, and then only other people would know about that. And so that started to work, but I mean, still, 6 million people were dead by the end of it.
Genocide is insane.
Yeah.
Can you believe? I mean, this is the oldest conversation since it's happened, but I mean, can you believe people were like, not only did this dude convince people to like agree with him, but like to go out and do that? Like that's, I know I'm saying nothing new.
Oh yeah, no, it's fucking crazy. But yeah, and the fact that there are, any public place you go, you're being watched, I don't like that idea.
I just sort of feel like if there's not enough people that the government could hire to watch those cameras 24/7. So if it's all being recorded and it's all still constantly being recorded, then nobody could ever catch up. So I feel like if that were the case, nobody is like just watching strangers just to keep their eye on them. I feel like it has to be sort of like if something happens, they can go back to the tape and be like
I understand security cameras on like things that need to be secure, ATMs, Of course, those should have security cameras. You have security cameras, banks, convenience stores, things like that. That makes sense. But just on like a public intersection, why? I mean, if nothing else, it's a waste of money.
I mean, I guess maybe like when you say that, the first thing my mind went to is like maybe if it's a busier place like New York or London or whatever, there's like alleys that I'm sure you could see from those fucking intersection cameras that you can see like between the blocks, and like I don't know, maybe you could catch somebody dipping into an alley, like grabbing somebody and dipping them into an alley to like beat them up or rape them or steal their shit or something. I don't know.
Yeah, you can see that, but it only serve to do anything after the fact.
Right, but at least you know who did it, and therefore would make people...
If you can pick up the person on the camera.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I have no real argument here. This is just the first thing I thought of.
But yeah, it's just like... I just don't like the idea of being watched wherever I go, especially by a government that I very much distrust. I've always distrusted the government. I don't care who the hell's at the head of it.
No, I'm with you there.
Yeah, it's just like, and to give them this sort of power. That's why I've been so torn up about the NSA thing, because it's just like, well, what the fuck did you think was going to happen? But anyway, so we're getting too political.
To get off the political topic, I'd like to remind you that the next time conservatives complain about wasting money, that they just wasted $2.3 million defending DOMA. Now we can continue.
But I don't understand people.
Right? From genocide to DOMA, people are dumb. Right?
But why can't everyone just leave everyone else alone? Be like Raish. Completely non-judgmental about anything. But, okay. So, where the fuck were we 20 minutes ago?
Yeah, I feel like we're trying to avoid figuring something out that we don't know. Okay, you were like Alfred should puke. Either way, I'm fine with that. I would believe it if he did. I'd believe it if he didn't. So, sure. And then they talk a little bit about it, and Batman decides to go check his rogues gallery. Maybe he sort of like has a hint that it was maybe Raish based on their conversation with Alfred. I don't know. But then he decides to go and try and find Talia based on the last place he saw her. Right? Which would be wherever that was in Superman.
Yeah.
Out in the middle of nowhere. And then, I remember saying something like, she could just show up.
Yeah, like, he's getting ready to leave. Yeah, that's the last place she was, and maybe I'll just track from there. And Talia comes in, she's just like, there's no need for that. And, like, he turns around, he whips out a batarang. He's ready to fight. And
let's just skip to step 2, find Raish. Yeah. Alright, so Talia's with him. However that dialogue plays out. I mean, there's got to be more to this.
Well, wait a second. There's no way he could... Like, I'm guessing that if he assumes Talia survived, he assumed Raish survived too. Maybe the thing is he starts looking for them both. Like he says, he's going to look for either Raish or Talia, try and find anything.
Right.
It wouldn't make sense for him to think, oh, well, there's no way I'm going to find Raish, but I can find Talia.
Right, and then when Talia shows up, he can immediately, because of that, not trust her. Right. Like, just assume...
Like, she's actually come because she has the feeling her father is behind this, too.
Right. Oh, and I remember what we said. We were like, how can we get him to take her with him if he doesn't trust her? And you said that she has the info of where all the Lazarus pits are, and she's going around looking for him, too. So, that can be that part of this act. But, I mean, the snowflake thing said each sentence should end in each paragraph.
Each paragraph should end in a disaster.
Yeah, but the entire disaster of this second sentence is Raish begins genocide, which is really the end of the first act.
So would the morning thing be the end of the first act then? I don't know.
Well, I mean, where we have the first act ended is the end of the first act, but what I'm saying is perhaps...
Because he needs to see that in order to connect the pieces.
Right. Perhaps and we had talked about this before, and we didn't really know how we felt about it, but how most movies that are laid out in 5 acts are over 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And all the Batman movies we're drawing from are around 80 minutes. Perhaps this could mean that we just cut out an act. What we're calling the second act is actually just part of the first act.
Perhaps. I think we should still keep going the way we're going.
Yeah.
At least at least for our structures, because when we do have the film put together, like act breaks, how they're intended as opposed to how they're perceived, is actually, I mean, for all
you can't really tell.
Right, if the story flows right, you can't tell that there's breaks in it.
Yeah.
And it's like, look at the trouble that we had actually breaking Mask of the Phantasm into acts.
Yeah. Which I still couldn't do if anyone asked me.
I mean, the way the stories, it's almost like you have, actually, no, it's exactly like you have 2 completely separate stories running simultaneously, but they all hit a common point.
Yeah.
But trying to break up something like that into acts, I mean, conceivably that film could have like 9 or 10 acts if you were to take each thing that would be an act break. Now remember what the definition of a new act is. Remember that the end of an act is whenever a character makes a decision that they can't come back from.
Yeah.
And so we do have to realize that we're going off of the writing methods of 2 different people here. Mm-hmm. We've got the snowflake method, and then we've got, who was it, Film Crit Hulk? Or
who sanctions the snowflake method? That's where I got that from.
But yeah, the fact of the matter is, basically, we've either got to end it in a disaster or a decision.
Yeah. So,
and it's really difficult to end it in both unless it ends with Raish doing something. But
right. And what I'm saying, like with the paragraph, with our one paragraph, if each sentence represents a disaster until the ending, I mean, our entire second sentence is Raish begins global genocide, and if that's supposed to be the disaster at the end of Act 2, well, I mean, that's also the disaster at the end of Act 1. So I feel like I don't know how we're building to that in the guise of a second act, since that's already happened. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so what's the point after that? The sentence after that is, Batman denies joining forces with Raish's daughter Talia out of mistrust until close calls and global detecting bring them closer than ever before. See, that's what I feel like we are building up to at this point.
Okay, so I have an idea on how to rearrange that, because somewhere in Act 2, we need to get Alfred started on, developing the suit, or at least something.
Right.
Something about, like, Batman has done something, and maybe it's not, like, the next morning, maybe it's a couple of days later, I don't know yet, but, like, something to do with Act 2 is actually partially them discussing the new suit, and then at the end of that, there's even more genocide. Talia comes in Act 3. And Act 3 will actually be pretty long, because it'll involve all of the actual, like, detective sleuthing work and whatnot as they're traveling the world. Act 4 is the ambush. Act 5 is the assault on Raish's fortress. I'm thinking the first two acts are very quick acts. There's nothing that says acts have to be the same length.
Right.
The only disadvantage we're at here with the snowflake method is that we have to fit each one into 5 sentences. So we'll perceive it as all the acts being the same length, but, like, Act 5 is going to be a hell of a lot longer than Act 1. I mean, Act 1's only going to be 15 minutes long, if that.
Mm-hmm.
And we're looking at the end of the movie. We've got simultaneously Bruce fighting his way through hordes of the Society of Shadows and Ra's al Ghul, and Talia is sabotaging an Abaddon plant.
And then the outcome of that whole scene.
Yeah, so I mean, Act 5 is going to be, like, the way I'm envisioning, like, the last half hour of the movie.
Yeah, I was going to guess 20 or 25 minutes. Yeah, we're around the same. Guessing around the same thing.
The way I'm thinking the movie's going to end up lengthwise is I'm guessing somewhere between an hour and a half and an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Because like we've got a lot of really quick stuff going on, and the movie builds very quickly, and then it just keeps going. And I mean, there's a lot of action sequences that are really long. Like the ambush in the Batcave, that's like a 5-minute sequence, easily. The end fight with Ra's al Ghul, I mean, that's probably 7 or 8 minutes by itself, without anything in it.
I don't think action takes as long as you think it does.
Maybe, but I have, of course I haven't actually timed it, but I have, like, acted it out just to, get, like, timing and choreography flow and shit like that.
Right.
And, I mean, it feels pretty long.
Yeah. I get what you're saying, but just to put it into perspective, from the time Simba shows up to Pride Rock to the time the credits start rolling is about 6 minutes.
Damn.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you because I have no idea, but right now I'm still betting around 80 or 90 minutes. But these aren't even really relevant disagreements to be having right now. But
Right. But that's something I will do, though, is I will actually go through the choreography of each scene. I know the record time scene, the way I have that planned out, takes about 30 seconds. So I've got that, and that's why I'm storyboarding it now, is because I want to actually like visually see it as opposed to just how it flows in my mind. But like I'm going to go through and actually time like the choreography of each of the two really big fight scenes and see how they go individually.
Word.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have idea? I mean, I'm sure you have ideas, but like, how much of the Batcave sequence do you have?
I'd say 90% of it.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things that I'm still kind of confused about, iffy on. For example, what the hell Alfred and Talia are doing. Because I know Alfred ends up entering the fray when the Clock King starts to blow up the Bat computer or whatever. And I have a really cool idea for that too. He's got like one of those old-timey little clocks, like what he had in Time Out of Joint, the one that he threw away because he stole it. Something that looks vaguely similar to that. It's actually a time bomb, and he sets it on the Bat computer and just sort of turns the hands a couple of seconds.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's got to have shit like that. And then Alfred comes up and fucking whacks him with a cane or something.
Yeah.
Maybe even before he gets the chance to set it.
Alfred doesn't have a cane in the animated series, right?
Not in the animated series. I'm thinking...
But I was going to say by this point he could.
Exactly. And I'm thinking... Because I wanted him... Unless he goes up and actually punches the Clock King, which I don't know if...
I don't see happening.
But I could see him whacking him with a cane.
Yeah.
Like... Bruce Wayne, when he was older, he had a cane. I mean, he was kicking people's shit in with that fucking thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm thinking it needs to be established just like through character design or whatever that Alfred now walks with a cane.
Yeah. Just a whole another accent on getting older.
Right. But yeah, so I've got most of the Batcave ambush choreographed, and I'm pretty sure I have the entirety of the fight with Batman and Ra's al Ghul choreographed.
Yeah.
And a couple of fights beforehand. Just with, like, random thugs.
Okay. So Talia shows up at the Batcave.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I don't trust you. She's like, you kind of have to. He's like, I'll let you come, but I don't trust you. So where do we go from there? To a Lazarus pit? To a fucking... Batwing air fight. Not fight physically, but them arguing.
So, here's what I'm thinking. And I actually discussed this with Sean a while back, and I have to look up the name of the mountain again. But, we had discussed at some point there's some sort of banquet or something that people are meeting at to discuss what's going on.
That could happen this early.
Oh, yeah, no, that's where I'm thinking they go from here.
Okay.
Now, the thing was, thinking that it was a banquet would be a little weird, just in my opinion, Because every time I think banquet, I think, oh, hey, somebody's trying to raise money for something, and there's a bunch of fancy food here. But no, what I'm thinking is that and they're going to be world leaders here. Why the fuck are they going to be meeting out in the open? And I think it's in a Midwestern state. There is a bunker built a mile into the core of a mountain made of solid granite. This is basically, if there was an imminent nuclear attack launched on the United States, this is where they would be transporting Congress, this is where they would be transporting the president and his family, is this building.
Okay.
Which is built into a mountain. It is designed to be able to take a 30 megaton nuclear blast from a mile away. As a matter of fact, it's actually in the movie Independence Day.
Okay.
That's where they meet up, is in that mountain thing. That's where everyone's going to plan the final assault on the, is that complex.
Speaking of Independence Day, we're an hour away.
That's right, we are.
Speaking of Independence Day, they just announced a sequel.
Yeah, I've been hearing somewhat vaguely about that.
But Will Smith's not going to be in it because he costs too much money. And Roland Emmerich doesn't spend $200 million on big budget crazy movies like he couldn't afford Will Smith, but whatever.
I wonder if Jeff Goldblum's going to be in it, though.
He said half the people from the original movie would be in it.
Of course, forgettable actor Bill Pullman.
He needs work, too.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is where I think they should be meeting up.
Okay.
And this is like a sanction of thing, of sorts. And, of course, theoretically, we could run into a lot of highball people there. Like, I know this is where we're planning on, at least at this point, planning on him running into Superman and the Flash.
Yeah.
As we've discussed, not in costume, and we've come up with logical reasons as to why they would be there, not as Superman and the Flash.
Mm-hmm.
But then we could also run into Amanda Waller from Project Cadmus, who was she was the old woman in Epilogue, who stopped being an old woman, or was not an old woman at this point.
Right.
But it would make sense, considering that she's a very high-powered government official, that she's there, even if she has no speaking part or whatever, even if she's just like visible in the background. That'd be kind of cool to see that she was there.
Yeah.
But this is where, Batman is scouting for information, and I'm thinking that they might not even find out anything that Batman already doesn't know.
Yeah. It could just be to
establish that they only know as much as I do.
Yeah, and just to reassure the audience that this is not a Justice League movie.
Yeah, and also it's established here from this point. Now I'm not actively trying for paragraphs right now. I'm just trying to get the whole flow of the story going. During this, they figure out that the only way they're really going to find out anything is to get to one of the cities that's been attacked.
Right.
Yeah.
But they've all been quarantined. So
then Batman just says, "Not for me."
Yeah, something like that. That sounds like something he would say. That's a good line. But so they go
That is a good line. That totally sounds like Batman.
Yeah, it's like when they in Justice League, I think it was Justice League Unlimited, when Batman gets transported to the future, and they meet up with old Bruce and Terry and some of the future Justice League.
They do?
Oh yeah, and Static, and they meet up with all these guys, and Batman's like, okay, I'm gonna go do some detective work, and Terry stops him and is just like, it's not the Gotham you remember. A lot has changed. And he's just like, are criminals still superstitious and cowardly? And old Bruce Wayne's just like, yep. And Batman's just like, good enough for me.
That's awesome. I want to see that episode.
It's a good episode. The Once and Future thing, Time Warped Part 2, that is.
I'll watch it.
Seriously, it's both of them are on Netflix.
Dude, I know.
Sit down, watch Justice League, watch Justice League Unlimited. Worth every minute.
I mean, there are millions of things I want to have time to watch. And
this is something that you should watch for the sake of this project.
I know I should. But hey, you gave me a list of episodes at the beginning of this that I needed to watch.
Mm-hmm. Now you can now you can fill in the blanks and figure out why those episodes were important. Justice League and Unlimited are two really different shows. Justice League there's a lot more character investment in Justice League, which is why I think I like it better. It's just about the main seven and how they form the Justice League and all that shit and the adventures that they end up going through. And it ends up, a lot of times it ends up being a very emotionally invested show. And there's a lot of shit that goes on. You're just like, whoa, what the fuck? And all of the episodes are at least 2-parters. Some of them are 3-parters. So you have an hour-long story arc for each episode of Justice League. They're all hour-long stories.
Damn.
But then Justice League Unlimited, they'd go more into some of that's when they expand the Justice League, and there's a lot more characters. They bring in, like, Green Arrow and Black Canary and The Question and people like that. And so you get a pretty large group of people, and so a lot of times characters get their own individual episodes. And so you got things focusing on the little guy a lot of times. And when the big guys come into the fray, what it is that's when the story gets really deep. It becomes very political.
Yeah.
It's a lot of the story arc of Justice League Unlimited is that Project Cadmus, secret government organization, is there to put a check on the Justice League. They're there to take out the Justice League.
Damn.
Oh, as a matter of fact, Amanda Waller herself arranges in the comics, this group was known as the Suicide Squad, but they didn't use that. They called it, like, Strike Force X or something like that, which was actually the third and final appearance of the Clock King in the entire DC animated universe. He was the guy who arranged an assault on the Justice League Watchtower to blow it up and kill the Justice League. And, like, this was an official government-sanctioned program.
Yeah, that's nuts. And they're using supervillains.
Yeah. There's that sort of thing going on. And the relationships, especially between Amanda Waller and Batman, are pretty interesting.
Yeah, really fleshed out.
When Amanda Waller first meets Batman, Batman goes up to her and he's just like, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" And it's just like, "This is secret government work, and that's all you need to know. I wouldn't probe into it too deeply, rich boy."
Damn.
Yeah, like, she went in and she already knew exactly who he was.
Damn.
And I mean, he gets this look on his face like, "Oh shit." I mean, he's like, and she just walks away with this big smile on her face.
That's nice.
So you automatically know that she's not someone to fuck with.
Right.
And then later on, he breaks into her house.
Of course he does.
And then and he tells her, "Now I know everything about you. Blow the whistle, and I'll bring you down right with me."
Nice.
And so, of course, I mean, you don't put Batman in that fucking position, you goddamn crazy woman.
Right.
But anyway, there's that whole thing going on, and of course, Lex Luthor. A lot of the plot is Lex Luthor coming to power, trying to remanufacture Professor Ivo's android, and he's trying to get out of his body into something a little more powerful. Mm-hmm. Especially because part of the plot line is he has cancer from wearing that kryptonite on him all the time. It is radioactive.
Right. I don't know why I just thought of this, but when Batman's going through his rogues gallery, Kevin Smith wrote an original Batman character called Onomatopoeia.
That was an original character of his?
Yeah.
Oh, neat.
And I'd like to have him in there.
That'd be cool. Oh, definitely. Definitely. Write that down in the notes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
Okay, so they go to the mountain meeting, which is what it will be referred to as from now on.
The mountain meeting. They go to the mountain meeting, and that's when Batman runs into Superman and the Flash, and he says, "Stay out of it. I got this." And so then, after that, they go to a quarantine city.
Okay.
Let's
do Paris.
Huh?
Paris.
Perhaps Paris, something like that. I don't know if I actually want them wandering through the streets of Paris, maybe a different city, but
okay.
But for the moment, we'll say Paris, and they find a few survivors.
Okay.
Because what they find is somebody has a family dog.
Okay.
And because I think we discussed this in an episode a while
Yeah.
back. Yeah, there's a dog running around, and Batman's like, wait a minute. This didn't kill everything. There's still trees here. There's still birds flying. There's still fucking squirrels and bugs and shit. Wait a minute. What the hell's going on? And the dog starts barking at him, and he follows the dog. The dog's trying to get into a house. He goes in there, and he finds out he finds this family that's, I guess they're survivalists or something like that.
Yeah, they're like in their bunker.
Yeah, they've got like a bunker with a bunch of food and water and shit. And, he comes in, and they're so excited to see their dog and shit. And, it's just like, you guys weren't exposed to whatever this was. But the dog was. Takes a sample of the dog's blood.
Yeah.
With the family's permission, of course. And it's just like, this got to be, this will be something useful. And then, shortly thereafter, or maybe even before this, is when Bruce and Talia date in Milan at Talia's suggestion.
Okay.
And then...
that's why we had them in Milan originally, was because that's where the quote-unquote banquet was going to be. So now we got to find a different reason to get them there.
Rome. Rome was struck by the Abaddon serum.
Okay.
Good place to hit, yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing really politically there that I can think of other than that. Would a strike that takes out Rome also take out the Vatican? How close is the Vatican to Rome?
It's part of Rome.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
It's a city within Rome.
Okay. Well, I know Vatican City is actually its own country. Like, it's a legitimate sovereign nation separate from Italy.
Isn't that fucked up?
A little bit. Oddly enough, though, and get this, and I don't know if this is accurate, but I heard once that Vatican City does not actually, even though it is the head of the Catholic Church, does not, on official record, have a state religion.
I guess it's already stated.
It's just a common sense thing, but...
Yeah. But it seems you can get away with anything under the guise of being led by God.
I actually...
we should call this Project Batman presented by God.
There was this thread on Reddit. I was like, okay, pretend you're going back in time to the 1500s. You're only allowed to take 3 things with you.
Okay.
Use those 3 things. Pick what you're going to take with you in order to conquer the world. The things I decided to bring with me were a large semi-automatic firearm, a bulletproof vest,
and several magazines.
Well, the thing is, a lot of the shit can be made back then with tools back in the day.
They just hadn't gotten around to inventing it.
Actually, no. Because the gunpowder and ammunition is actually really, really easy to make. It's a pretty commonly known recipe. It's saltpeter, charcoal, and sulfur.
Oh.
Saltpeter you can get out of large amounts of charcoal.
Take notes,
charcoal,
kids. Take notes.
Then sulfur. So you've got these. You go back and you take over a small village outside of the... and I would have a downloaded on like an iPad or something, a repository of pretty much all of current human knowledge.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
And it would be something that I could solar charge. But anyways, what you do, go back in time, take over a small village outside the Vatican. Take over neighboring villages. When you've collected enough villages, take over the Vatican. Supplant yourself as the head of the Catholic Church. In the 1500s, the Catholic Church is the single most powerful entity on the entire planet. It's almost an empire. Use this. At that point, you've already conquered the world.
Yeah.
Use your repository of all human knowledge to tell people what to do for the human race, span people out into space and whatnot. You might be able to get some pretty neat shit accomplished in your lifetime. You go there young enough.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That and with a bulletproof vest, I mean, if anybody else manages to invent a half-decent firearm, you're still pretty much safe. And none of the weapons of the day can harm you. Like, there's no way... Like, not even a longbow will go through a Kevlar shock plate.
Alright, here's what I would take. The Beyond Batsuit. Something technologically incredible that I can use to convince the people from back then that I am a sort of god. Like, I would like... There's got to be some sort of thing out there that can project my image, like, but bigger. Like I am... It's
like the Wizard of Oz.
Some sort of live hologram. Yeah, like that.
Something like that.
And fucking music. I have to, like, it's whatever this technological thing is that I have, I can show people the amazement of new music and just be like, whoa, they're like, whoa, we've never heard anything like this. All we've heard is our fucking minstrels over there. Like, what is this? And therefore, I've already convinced them I'm a god in a giant bat suit.
There you go.
And that's all I need. I've already conquered the world. They're not going to fuck with me.
No, you're right. They won't.
He's got awesome music. He's a giant bat. He wins.
Okay, so where were we Batman-wise?
Okay, I wrote on a card, Intermountain Government Meeting with Superman. That's a new card. And then after that, I wrote, Batman and Talia off to Quarantine City, follows dog to family and bunker.
Okay, so they get a sample.
Or this could be, the Quarantine City is Rome, we decided.
Okay. Oh, they can stop off in Milan because maybe they just need to refuel?
Okay.
I don't know.
We can figure out something. We'll figure out something. So we're deciding that we want the date to be earlier in the story, and I guess
near the end of them traveling the world, and then on their way out, maybe it's not. Maybe the next city attacked isn't Milan, but they're in a city that's attacked.
Right. Also, we need to, before they leave, maybe when he's going through the Rogues Gallery and talking about what to do next, there needs to be a pretty detailed conversation with Alfred about the Batsuit.
Yeah, definitely. That's that thing where I was discussing, this shit isn't moving with me, it's moving for me.
Yeah. And what shall I do with this? You put it in a case. We won't be using that one. Of the bat armor.
Yeah.
Sorry.
If he, and just polish it up over there.
Just leave it.
I gotta say,
ultimately, that's what brings down the Clock King. He trips over the bat armor.
You know what amazes me? Like, absolutely amazes me?
What?
Is the fact that nothing in the... Like, after Bruce stops being Batman, he didn't go into the Batcave for 20 years. There was no reason for him to. How the fuck did that shit not rust? Like, everything in the Batcave rust. Because caves are nothing but moisture. At least have... I mean, we know for a fact that there are bats flying around that motherfucker. Why is nothing covered in bat shit? How is it so clean after he goes back in there after 20 years?
Alfred's got to do something while he's out all night. He's cleaning up that stuff.
But this is after Bruce stops being Batman.
Oh, I see.
For 20 years, this room is abandoned. It's in a goddamn cave where bat shit and there's moisture.
What if he resented everything that happened so much that he exterminated all the bats in the Batcave?
Oh, man. I don't know. But, okay. So...
I feel like we're at a good stopping point. Because we haven't fleshed out... We were only, like, barely halfway through this page-long thing. Like, turning each sentence into a paragraph.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, we could pick it up from there.
Okay, cool.
Let's meditate on how to get to Milan.
Definitely.
And we'll pick up there next time.
Cool. Anyone? Anything?
Wonder if let's try an experiment. I'm going to Google Batman quote. And we'll see what the first thing that comes up is.
Good call.
Their IMDb page for Batman Begins. The quote section. Alright. This one's really easy. I'm not even going to show you. You'll get it, okay? I'm going to say 3 words, and then you have Batman's response to those 3 words, okay? Where are you?
Here.
Yes.